So, hello, namaste, good afternoon, good morning, or maybe even good evening in whichever part of the world you are joining us from. My name is Deepak R. Khemani and I am one of the co-founders of Bloom. It is our 113th, 113 consecutive live Bloom Sunday talk show. And on this 13th, which is considered to be a lucky number by some, we have with us Suneel Agarwal, who is joining in as our guest today. Suneel Agarwal calls himself a brand architect. He trains and speaks on leadership. And of course, he is also a communication expert. His bio, it takes a few pages to read. So instead of me introducing himself, I would ask Suneel to tell us a little bit about himself, how he got here, why he does what he does, and then we will take the show along. Over to you, Suneel.
So good morning and good afternoon, everybody. The rule of branding is your brand is not what you say about yourself, but what people say about you when you are not in the room. And therefore, it would be inappropriate to say anything about myself, but the title that is mentioned, a brand architect and a communication coach, sums up everything. And like most things in life, the best things are left unsaid.
You've listened to Suneel just by these 2 or 3 sentences, and what is the topic today is actually already being discussed. Humor in communication. There is a lot which is implied, a lot which is unsaid, a lot which some people do understand and some of us don't get it. So over the next 40-45 minutes, we will try and scratch his brains and remove some ideas from his brain to help us how we can make our communication a little more laughable, a little more humorous, a little more connecting with the audience. So tell us, Suneel, at what point did you understand that it is important to add humor to communication? Or, there are some people, there are people who ask me, तुम यार ऐसे कैसे बोलते हो? I tell them, यार मैं बचपन से ऐसा ही हूँ, तो आप क्या बचपन से ऐसे थे कि चेंज हो गए?
So first you said, I'll try to remove something from my head. I'm afraid, Deepak, you may go empty-handed. So be a little careful before you put your hand in anything. You should first know something exists to take out, okay? So good question. I didn't even realize that how important humor could be. And I remember the very first time I spoke professionally or amongst a gathering. Since I was not a trained person, they had invited a coach. And after the program, I was eagerly awaiting his judgment, just like politicians wait for the result. I was waiting for his fatwa. Okay, what is his judgment? So he came up to me saying, Suneel, what you do is called motivational speaking. But let me tell you, you cannot add humor to motivational speaking. Now, I didn't even know that the genre of speaking at that time, what I was doing was motivational, leave alone. And then getting such a cryptic comment about humor. But I remember I had so much clarity. I said, I'm sorry, I have not added humor to motivational speaking. You think you mean to say you haven't even heard yourself? I said, I haven't had humor to motivational speaking. I've added motivational speaking to humor. Because then I look back and I realized that coming from the background, my interests, my tastes, somewhere I always felt humor was omnipresent. And then little did I realize that it could be a magic mantra in communication. So before you go to the core question, I want each of you to ask yourself, do you want to be a speaker? Do you want to be a good speaker? or do you want to be an engaging speaker? A speaker just empties out his knowledge and hopes that it makes some sense to the audience. A good speaker packages his content better, but an engaging speaker finds ways, methods, means, tools, techniques, how to connect with the audience. So humor is not a cosmetic tool. Humor is not a tool to sprinkle some spice, but actually humor is an engagement tool that speakers can use very productively for their engagements.
So it is said that there are different types of humors, There is humor that is instantaneous, just happens out of the moment. Then there are humor which people say, I will put in this joke, I will put in this line in my speech, and I will try and connect with the audience. Then there is some humor which is called black humor. A lot of people somehow do not like the humor. Some people may find it funny, but some people actually take objection and outrage to it. So as a speaker, how do I decide that, this is okay, I should use this or I shouldn't use this, or let the world be damned? I feel I want to have this in my speech, I will do this.
If any speaker comes from a mindset that the world be damned, then he's not a speaker. He's a loudspeaker. He's just amplifying his voice and saying, if you hear it, it's your good luck. If you don't hear it, I don't care. So the fundamental ingredient of a speaker is to be conscious that they have some message they want to transmit to the others. Be conscious that the audience cannot be coerced into listening, and understanding that the audience needs to be cajoled, coaxed, and connected to make them hear the message.
Yeah.
You may have the best wisdom in the world, but if you don't have the ingredient of engaging, it will just go over the top, and you'll be wondering why people are not acknowledging such precious words of wisdom.
Yeah. Clearly, what has come out in the last 8 or 10 minutes, what we've been talking, you have emphasized this at least 3 or 4 times. It is all about engagement. If you are not engaging with your audience, either what the humor you are trying to throw out is totally being missed by the audience, they are not understanding, or the way you are doing it is wrong. Now, there are speakers, and I have seen speakers on screen. There are sometimes they will laugh at their own jokes, or they will try and induce that laughter so that the audience can get it, that what I said just now was a joke. There are some people who in the flow just go and move on. What should you do, or what should you not do?
The golden rule is the snuff cannot sneeze. If you are laughing at your own jokes, you are actually giving a trigger to people. Please laugh, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So the best joke is where it hits you, but you stay calm and collected.
Yes.
So because there are 2 advantages of that. Of course, then it comes as an element of surprise.
Yes.
And B, for any reason, some of the audience don't get it. You don't cut a sorry figure amongst those who didn't get it.
Yes.
So I realized I missed the second part of your first question, which was what kind of humor is good. So the first type is called situational humor. So the sitcom is coined from situational comedy. So that's why situational humor is always connecting. provided the situation also connects. So if you are able to do that, it means actually it covers the other part, which is called the instant humor. So tell me, Dr. Neeta, you are sitting quietly waiting for the situation to end. Deepak has got his timer out. He keeps telling me it's already 8.5 minutes, 9.25 minutes, to keep reminding me how he's counting the minutes before I leave. So are you fond of food?
Yes, of course. And I'm very fond of food, and I'm waiting for Deepak to finish so that then I can pitch in with my questions.
Okay. Are you all doing it in batches, or you all can interleave also, so that there's more variety here?
Then
I mean,
we will
when did
have,
women start waiting for their turn to speak here?
we will have the full
that
we
is-
will have the full buffet, sir. Don't worry.
That is food for thought. That is food for thought, Sunil.
Yeah. So as a moderator, try to do interwoven rather than batch wise. It's always better because it adds a new flavor and it doesn't look like monopolized. I mean, I'm just overstepping my role.
No ways. In this is the best part of Bloom is it's not only as moderators, it is open for everyone, whosoever wants to even come and ask. Everything is really free. They can be who they are.
Okay.
And bring in
Dr. Neeta,
whatever kind of humor they want to.
I want to begin by telling you
Haji.
that Deepak had once come for my program called Human Communication. And that day he said, Sunil, one day I will invite you. And a couple of days back when he called me to invite me, I said, why do you want to call me? Saying, why should I suffer alone?
Let the world suffer together and let it become a safarnama together.
Yeah. So in case you have been patting his back for getting a speaker, you must know the real reason why he has actually invited. Okay.
Yeah.
So the thing is that coming back to the question of food for thought, Dr. Rita, if you go to a buffet, if you go to a banquet, which is your favorite counter?
For me, it's always a chart counter.
Chart counter.
My eyes are always layer.
Okay. Deepak, covered with you?
Desserts.
Desserts. Okay. Lokesh?
Salads.
Salads. Okay. Dr. Ratan sir, if you unmute, we can hear you better.
Salads and desserts. No,
Salads and desserts.
no
Okay.
in between.
Yeah. So next time when you go to a banquet or a buffet, see that the maximum queue is on the live counter. And for speakers, this is a cue that whatever is prepared live during the meeting will always have a better, interesting quotient than something that is pre-cooked or pre-prepared.
Wonderful.
So therefore, the challenge is not to prepare good speeches. The challenge is to become a good prepared speaker. Because if you have the ability inside you, then you don't wait for the situation or the equation. You know you can cook it well whenever you want.
And I think also however you want, depending again on the situation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So the question which you asked me, situational, instant, as far as the black humor is concerned.
Yeah.
So there are some ladies here, but I want to confess that many years back during Valentine, I sent a card to a lady, but in response, I got beaten up. Any guesses, Dr. Lisa, why it happened?
You might have written a sister or something that way.
So I was not so intelligent that time.
She was already married, huh?
No, no. That doesn't really matter. Okay. So I wrote on a card, to whomsoever it may concern.
LOL.
And when any speaker uses any humor which he or she is not sure will be appropriate for the audience,
Yes.
it is actually saying that I am sending a message to whomsoever it may concern. I don't bother whether there is an adult audience, there is a mature audience, there is a young audience, there are teenagers, there are, so the question is not a black, white, dark. The question is it appropriate for the situation, for the occasion, and for the audience?
Wonderful. It's not about the type or class of humor. It is about whether it is appropriate, whether the humor is appropriate or not. And I want to take you on that, what you said just now, because you are also a brand architect. You work with companies, you help them in branding. You also speak about leadership. A lot of companies, when they are throwing out their message, when they are making these ads, when they are, connecting with their audience, sometimes they end up either hurting the audience or, hurting their egos or saying something which they did not want to. So when companies are communicating with an audience which is vast, your company, you are throwing out your message to 1.3 billion people. All of them will not understand your message. Some will be very happy, some will get outraged. At what point does a company, specifically a brand, decide that this communication is good, this is bad, this is something we will do or we will not do?
See, there are two parts to this. One is your entire messaging is for your audience. A man was being interviewed many years back, as was the custom, because he wanted to buy a Rolls Royce. But when he came out, he was extremely dejected because they refused, saying he was not appropriate. He went and poured his heart out to his friend that I really dreamt to have a Rolls Royce, but I don't know why they rejected me. I was very courteous. And when he asked him to repeat the questions, he happened to ask them, what is the mileage? And to that question, Rolls-Royce realized that the person who cares about mileage is not our customer.
Yes.
So when you roll out your messaging, you know that everything is relative. If you get a Rolls Royce for 50 lakhs, you say it's a steal. But if you get a Maruti Alto for 50 lakhs, you say, what is wrong with you? The same thing that you call congestion on a railway platform becomes intimacy in a nightclub. Yeah. Everything in life is relative.
Yeah.
And therefore, when the companies roll out their messages,
Yes.
their first primary aim is that it should be music to the ears of the people to whom they are trying to reach out.
Yes.
The second thing is that in this age of social media, where you cannot choose specifically your audience,
Yes.
you cannot unknowingly hurt or step on others' feet, even though it may not be intentional.
Yes.
So you have to be mindful, because I may not be a Rolls Royce buyer, but if they say something, I may become, instead of an advocate, I may become a sledgehammer where I'll keep saying, you don't ever buy. So I hope you got there are two sides to the coin here.
Yes.
So here I have something to just intervene. Many of the CEOs or the CEOs, they are not very happy when you add humor to any kind of training or any kind of participation with the audience. So for them, it becomes very, it's not being taken very seriously. Can the trainings or can the facilitating be out of humor? So what do you understand by this when they put the straight line,
Yeah, so the challenge is the way you look at humor. If you look at humor as a distraction, then it loses the seriousness of the intent. But if you use humor to complement your message, then it becomes a reinforcement of your message. Most of the speakers are guilty of sprinkling humor inappropriately just to break the monotony. But in that breaking the monotony, they break the chain of seriousness also. And that is what disturbs the people behind the scenes. So you can't say, oh, chalo abhi ek humor dal dete. Chalo let me tell you a joke. On the other hand, let's just do a live example. So Dr. Neeta, I don't know your profession, but suppose you're speaking and you want to make a point. You tell me that point, I will try to see if we can give a humorous tinge to it.
So maybe we can just pick up the same thing. I want to give in my training the essence of humor. So I'm talking about kuch kuch hota hai. So kuch kuch hota is not that exactly jo Shah Rukh Khan ne bola tha kuch kuch hota hai. Kuch kuch hota is in the stomach. It is in the gut. That kuch kuch hota hai starts from there. So maybe this is my humor, which I want to give it to my audience when I'm talking to the medical faculties, when I'm talking to the paramedics, when I'm talking to my audience. So this is my kuch kuch hota hai, but at times this kuch kuch hota hai is also been offended. So how do we do about here?
So going back to the appropriateness, a man was stranded on top of a tree and was shouting for help, and nobody could bring him down. When a smart Alex came and threw a rope at him and said, just put it around your waist. He said, what do I do? He said, you just do what I'm saying. He put the rope around his waist and he pulled it and he fell down the tree and broke his leg. Everybody pounced on him. What is wrong with you? You come here to help and see what you've done. He started scratching his head and saying, I don't know what is wrong. Last time a man fell into a well, we did the same thing and it worked.
Wonderful situation.
Brilliant.
Wonderful, Sunil. Wonderful.
So,
Really
so now you
brilliant.
get, so you shared a story, you shared a humor, but you made a point also. So then it is adding to the whole subject. But most of the people tend to use it like a break, like a commercial break. And you know how you feel when a commercial break happens. So I think the idea is like spice. A good cook uses the same spices, but the secret sauce is in the right proportion, in the right place.
Rather, I would take the congestion and the intimacy which
Yeah.
you had started.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was a brilliant thing.
Yeah. I hope you don't share it with too many people. It may be offending to some.
Again, situational. I'll remember the situation.
Yeah. So I hope you get the idea.
I got the idea, sir. I got
So
the
what
idea.
happens is so whenever you get a humor, I train people, I tell them that a humor is like a fabric in your wardrobe. When you open it, you say, I have nothing to wear. On the other hand, if you convert that into an apparel, see, where can I use it? For what can I use it? Then it becomes something that you can use it to your advantage. Otherwise, you only feel good. I have a cupboard full of clothes, but when you want to use it, you find nothing is usable.
So also relating humor, not humor as specific, but when we are seeing the youngsters are not really liking our education system. They are in big awe with the education system. Can that be simplified, or can that be used in simple words rather than using those big jargons and making that seriousness of education? How can this humor be made part of education, and specifically with people who are dealing with numbers, the maths, the languages, which the students really don't like talking about?
The root of the issue is the shrinking attention span. If you ask your parents, they would always be written, what is it, Neeta? You listen with an iPod or pods and you study. In our time, we used to close ourselves in the room and just study. And now today, if you ask the younger generation, you can't imagine how can you study with one eye on the iPad, the other eye on your phone, and the third on your WhatsApp. So the new mantra is that everything has to keep changing. And it has to keep evolving. And today, the biggest challenge for a speaker is not content, because content is like everywhere. Earlier, we used to be so incensed with somebody with knowledge. Hey, please tell me, can you lend me that book? Now you have to just type it on Google and you will be more knowledgeable than anybody else. So knowledge is a commodity, but engagement is premium. So today what?
Sorry, what
engagement is premium.
I still didn't get that word.
Premium.
Oh, yeah.
The LIC premium that you talk about,
Hmm.
that hurts your wallet, is music to the ears of the audience. So when you actually find ways of connecting to the audience, then you can pass on any message. But if you are not doing it in engagement fashion, the best message gets lost in wilderness.
I think it's a very depth message for the educators as well as for the parents, because many times the parents are talking about मेरी साड़ी इसकी साड़ी से सफेद कैसी, मेरा बच्चा इसके बच्चे से smart कैसे. So it's not about comparing and bringing in the content. It is very important that how are we bringing and connecting it to the context. And that is where I think we as parents, educators, or even the visionaries have to change the way we deal with what we deal with. I see Lokesh as having a question. Lokesh, if you can unmute and please ask your question, will be really helpful.
I don't answer questions for people I can't see. Okay, so
He's
anybody
visible,
wants to ask
No,
question?
no, I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm here.
Lokesh K is visible, but I'm just giving a heads up to the others.
Okay.
Don't be backbenchers in your life if you want to go front.
Thank you, Dr. Neeta, for this opportunity. I see that the points you mentioned are apt for my profession right now. I'm in an accounting profession. So what happens is when I give a talk, I have to make it not only easy for a common man to understand, I also have to bring in the humor element, which I'm very well known for, in the context of the talk. So this is a good thing that I learned today. It should blend with the content. And now the question is like, how do I make it palatable for the normal audience? Because it's quite technical, jargon oriented. So just some ideas about it.
So when you say normal audience, you are automatically assuming you are abnormal.
Yeah, probably you could say that.
So you have lost your connect. When you speak to a child, you don't speak to him in hyper language. You go down to their level. क्या खाया आज खाने में? स्कूल में क्या हुआ? You don't become abnormal or normal. You connect with the level of the audience. So if you are coming from the point that how do I go down, you say, how can I connect? So somewhere everything starts with the right mindset. See, when you're speaking to a non-industry professional, you can't use jargon. And if you don't use jargon in the professional thing, why are you wasting our time giving us the complete extensions? So are you fond of music, Lokesh?
Yes, pretty much.
Which is your favorite FM channel?
92.7 Big FM.
Do you know which is the favorite channel of the audience? It is called WIFM.
Okay.
What is in it for me? So unless you find out what's in it for me, you'll keep on singing your own tune and saying they can't even appreciate my music. So the golden idea is first align yourself with the audience and don't expect them to align. As the conventional says, Muhammad has to go to the mountain can't come to Muhammad.
So I think we are all taking in a lot of abundance of humor in a very relatable knowledge form and as per our audience. Over to you, Deepak sir, because of course I have a question, but I want
See, I'll tell you what, Sunil has requested for us to, help relieve him at around 1:20 because he has his own program at 1:30. We have a full house. The screen is almost full. I can keep on asking another 20 questions, but because he is here and it is difficult for us to get people like Sunil on a regular basis on Bloom, I can promise you we are getting him back again today because whatever we want to learn from him and whatever he wants to say can't get finished in one program.
No, sir, we are not getting him here. We are getting him in our master class. So
We
we
are getting
want a
him on the
proper
stage,
3-hour
yes.
session. It's not
Yes.
going to be just an hour.
Yes.
Not done. Half appetite chalega nahi, Sunil sir. Full chahiye.
So I want to take this opportunity to allow everyone who is there in the room, who wants to ask a question to Sunil, say something, learn from him, scratch his mind, unmute yourself, raise your hand, and then I will allow you to ask the question directly to Sunil. Whoever is there in the audience, please raise your hand. Brigadier Basin, you can go first.
Oh my God, no, I'm actually really enjoying it. And if you ask me really, probably today is the first time I'm getting some aspects of humor that I had never thought of. And particularly the one that is really, really my great takeaway is when he answered Neeta and said that and I agree with him, most trainers and me included, that we use humor as a commercial break. I also do it, so I don't say that others do it. But today what you have realized is that if it can complement your content and if it can bring in that message gets strengthened and reinforced, then you've got it.
Yes.
And I've heard so many people talk about humor for speakers, including some international trainers.
Yeah.
But I think all those international trainers need a class from Sunil.
Thank you, Brigadier sir.
Thank you, Brigadier. I have no bank balance, so please be careful with your words. There's nothing coming back.
Yeah.
No, I think the best part of what it is simple is again with very simple is really very good. Not required that you mix in lot of chemical lochas and make a lot of chemical masala. Simple can be beautiful and it is really soul taking. So this is a very good takeaway from Sunil's session today.
Yeah.
So, Sunil sir, I have one question.
Go ahead, Abhijit.
Yeah. So
Abhijit, your makeup man has left.
no.
Abhijit, put on your screen.
Yeah, I'm on there.
Okay, anyway, go ahead.
कोई बात नहीं, ऐसे ही बोलिए, no problem. Go ahead.
You're
No,
still
we lost you.
muted,
You're
Abhijit
muted
sir.
again. Yeah.
So I have this effect on people. Deepak,
He has been having this technological issue from the last few days with his phone. Abhijit, you can try again. You are unmuted.
Buying a new phone is a good option.
Yeah.
So my
Yes.
question was, if you crack some humor and it fails flat on the audience, and suddenly it looks quite embarrassing to the speaker, how do you handle such situations?
So the thing is, first of all, rather than correction, prevention is better than cure. You first try out samples to know which kind of humor is connecting with the audience before you go with something that allows you to fall flat on the face. A B part is, if you cracked a humor and you're waiting expectantly like a pregnant woman, then you are bound to have a problem. But if you don't get any response and you carry on as if nothing happened, you are not amplifying that challenge.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Wonderful. So before
I think I've done that
anybody-
many times. Just continue and as if not, it wasn't a joke at all.
Yes.
It was just a part of your.
Yeah.
So I
But
think
but sometimes in the audience, because I remember I was attending a session, it was all on about relationship, marriage, and when the speaker started talking about how condoms can be part of their barrier method, the entire audience was so embarrassed ki why is the speaker talking about it. In fact, it was very much needed to address that situations over there. So I agree to what Abhijit had that question ki sometimes your audience themselves do not know in which way the things might come back. So
But I think there's something that Sunil will probably be able to highlight and tell us. It is preparing your audience. When you're coming to something like that, okay, for example, I know how many of you have done Quantum Leap, and in Quantum Leap, the extended warrior program, in which there is something called fuck therapy. But he brings you to that level that I have never seen in my life. So many girls talking about, when saying fuck you, because you're talking, he says, anyone who's done wrong to you in your life, and I remember very, very embarrassing thing where a person said, my mother who has died always told me that I'm stupid, I'll never going to grow up. And he made him say, fuck you, mom. Okay. But the point is that he took at least 1 hour to prepare us for making people comfortable. And when I was standing and joining up with everyone, I was just noticing how a whole lot of women had no qualms. They were saying it so comfortably as if it was an everyday word. And I could make out that many of them would have never used that word ever in public. So I think it's preparing an audience for something that you may feel is embarrassing or may feel that it requires to condition them for it.
Yeah. Amit, you raised your hand. Go ahead, unmute yourself, ask your question.
So can we have Sunil comment on this?
Sure. Sunil first and then Amit. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are extreme cases. Sometimes when you sign up for a program, you know the genre of the program, you know what to expect. And like, for example, when you go for the S trainings, which earlier used to happen, people are aware that this is part and they have heard about it and they come mentally prepared for this kind of thing. But if you go assumingly, then I think caution is better than, or testing the audience with some softer ideas. So my mom used to always tell me, whenever I see what you've done to your life, I wished I had used protection. Does that get closer to getting them prepared for it? And then you see the response. Are they enjoying it or are they getting embarrassed about it? And then you gradually go to it,
Wonderful.
But this is reality. Deepak, don't laugh about it. It makes me cry. It's autobiographical.
I mean, what an answer to Dr. Neeta's question. Amit, go ahead, ask your question.
it's like ye hadsa to hona hi tha.
So, my question was, is it like necessary to have a pause after you crack a joke, or you wait for the audience to react and then you continue with your speech, or like you just go with the flow and
Good
let
question.
the
Good
people
question,
enjoy?
Amit.
So if you pause, then you are awaiting acknowledgement. But if you hear applause, then you can pause.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
because then if you keep speaking while they're applauding, they may miss your next sentence. But if you wait for the applause, then that pause is for the applause.
Yeah.
But the pause should not precede the applause. The pause should succeed after the applause.
Yes.
So the question, as somebody mentioned, is all about timing.
Superb answer, Sunil. Really appreciate. I mean, just sits so well with what we have been talking. I need to ask this one question to you because
when am I leaving? Very soon.
Yeah. So there is a difference between humor and sarcasm. Humor, I'm just assuming that people will get it. Sarcasm, a lot of people don't get. So how do you fit in humor or sarcasm and not do what you are not supposed to do?
The preferred is not sarcasm, but satire. Sarcasm is directed. Satire is general.
Oh, super.
So when you use sarcasm, it is specific. But when you use satire, it is general. So sarcasm is usually when you hold somebody by the collar and says, you are like that. So when I was talking about the Rolex, so we Indians, we always have that 3-word question on our minds. whenever we go to see a car.
कितना देती है?
Kitna deti hai? So that is satire. But Deepak, you go and ask this question, that becomes sarcasm.
Hmm.
So if you use satire, you are acknowledging कि हम तो भाई ऐसे हैं.
Yes.
It could be a trait of the country, it could be a trait of community, it could be a trait of the locality, it could be a trait of a particular community, like, oh, we are like this. So I think the golden rule is that whenever you put somebody under the microscope of sarcasm, then they are likely to feel bad about it. So there was a person who was once speaking on the phone while I was speaking in the audience. Can you imagine how you would feel, Brigadier? Somebody's talking the phone and you are giving your words of wisdom. And when I went up to him and I took out his headphone, I said, all these years of phone sex, you'll end up getting hearing aids.
Did he get it or not?
What, the aids or the message? The first he did, the second
Both.
reports are awaited.
You know, the first part of this question actually preempted my next question, the answer which you gave. I wanted to ask you, you know, share with us some brand, some company, some tagline where, you know, they have used humor in their communication and you said, you know, kitna deti hai. But having said that, just give us something which comes out of your mind, you know, that this brand communicated this so well, there was so much humor that it really worked. Kuch yaad aata hai?
So you see, again, I said, if you say, I want to use humor, then you're missing the wood for the trees. You say, I want to give this message.
Yes.
Can humor be used to give the message?
Yes.
So you can't put the cart before the horse.
Yes.
So I grew up listening, reading Chivas Regal ads. Of course, you can live without Chivas Regal. The question is how well.
Yeah.
So they had specially created cartoons for Punch magazine, which was very famous then.
Yes.
And they showed, I remember this, two people stranded at the deck and the ship has sailed off. And the guy is consoling the others, they'll be back. They forgot the Shivas. Meaning they wouldn't come back to fetch them, but they'll definitely come back because of the Shivas. So subtlety is, again, British humor is subtle. It is,
Yes.
you know, deeper.
Yes.
But Indians need to be a little more transparent. Like, for example, Dr. Neeta, I happened to like a girl in my heydays who was a film movie fan, and I was told, go and give us some dialogues. And I went and told her, मैं तुम्हारे प्यार में खो गया हूँ, अब तुम भी मेरे प्यार में खो जाओ. Saying, what nonsense? Tell me in English. I said, I have got lost in your love. Now you also get lost. And I haven't found her after that.
She got lost forever.
Best for the
I mean, really, I mean, I don't want this program to end, but it is 1:16. You
Yes,
have a
yes.
program of yours to attend to. That is also very, very important. And as Dr. Neeta said, we cannot have Suneel for another 45 minutes in another program. It has to be a structured 3-hour program or a probably one-day masterclass to, you know, learn from all about
Okay.
what he wants to say about
So
you.
let me tell you something to this.
Yeah.
You cannot snatch success. You cannot create a habit. You can only build it or develop.
Yeah.
And similarly, if you are trying to master a skill,
Yeah.
don't try to get it from a bargain counter.
Not also from the live counter, huh?
So you have to give it time to become part of you
Yes.
and nurture it rather than snatch it, and then otherwise he'll be here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
So whenever you do, therefore I devised a online program over 12 weeks, because it doesn't matter if you learn just 3 things,
Yes.
but you will remember them for your life, rather than is there on your mind for the next 48 hours, 72 hours, and then after that, something I heard,
Yes.
so it's called the RGBG factor.
Yeah.
So what is RGBG, Alka?
What?
RGBG.
RGBG.
रह गया, भूल गया.
Real
रात
good,
गई-
real bad.
रात गई बात गई.
रात गई बात.
बात गई, बात गई.
Because what happens is we are living in an age of information explosion.
Yes.
True. Very
If you have read something in the morning, by the afternoon, you don't even recollect what you had read.
Yes.
And therefore now, unless you supplement it and deep drive the idea, it is not likely to stay with you.
Yes.
So can you please type your link ID so that people who are interested, they can follow you on your LinkedIn or maybe wherever, whatever is your Facebook account.
Can I have 30
You don't
seconds?
like my face here?
I like your face here, but I want everyone else also to like your face, sir. Sharing is caring, sir. We are doing that.
Can I have 30 seconds?
Yes, yes, yes.
You want to
Dr.
leave or you want to
Agarwal.
speak?
I've raised my hand, so obviously I want to speak now.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So what you said very beautifully, that the audience has to be primed, with our humor. So my 2 daughter-in-laws, they're married for 6 and 7 years, and they were not, talking about having a baby. And as a doctor, we are very used to talking about sex and the postures and blah, blah, blah. So I was talking one day to both the girls about some stories from my patients, what happened and how she conceived and how the other one conceived and what happened and all that. And my son happened to pass by, and he knows my way of talking and all that. Both my daughters-in-laws are non-medicos. So he says, Mama, don't contaminate the girls. So that was one thing. And because they're not used to, but now over a period of time, over 8 to 10 years, my daughter-in-laws have got primed to my kind of jokes, and we can share a joke, exactly what Suneel was telling today. And the other thing I want to say is that when we are talking about humor, and practicing it is very, very important. Practicing the punchline, practicing to say the joke, the pause and everything, because when you do more of it, when we practice it, it gets incorporated in a pathway in the brain. That is called neuroplasticity. So I just
If
want
any,
to talk about
if
that.
any.
That
If you
is-
have a brain, then if any.
So 12 weeks of course is important. I totally agree with Suneel. We got to do it, and we got to do it, and we got to do it again and again. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. So Alka, let me tell you, there was a couple who were trying very hard to conceive, and it wasn't happening. And they were brought up all the jokes whenever they met their friends. And one day their friends cornered him. He's saying, what's happening? Why aren't you becoming a father? He's saying, actually, she's impregnable. So everybody started laughing about the language, and he realized his fault, and he said, actually, she's unconceivable. Again, everybody started laughing, and he said, actually, let me tell you honestly, she's unbearable.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I don't know why I get this deja vu moment when he said this story, It felt that I've either heard it before or something similar has happened at some place, So Suneel,
Just
really.
10 seconds. Just 10 seconds. Following
Yes.
Suneel, that whenever a child is conceived in
Yeah,
my
good afternoon,
clinic,
Naveen. How are
there
you?
was this child who was conceived in my clinic. One couple conceived.
Oh, actually, it happened there, or did you give them a room, or what was it?
Sunta nahi. There was one couple who conceived even
Okay.
with a very low sperm count, and he
Yeah.
came back one day, and my husband was not in the clinic, and he wrote a letter to him. Thank you, Dr. Chadda. After your intervention, I am blessed with a baby boy. So whatever happened, you can imagine.
Congratulations, Alka.
Thank you. I'm proud of my husband.
A man was fighting in the train with the TC about a lady who was not vacating the seat. You think, what's the problem? You say, look at that lady. She's not giving birth to my child.
Wonderful.
Yeah, 2-tier, 3-tier words.
इतना में
Okay.
कभी नहीं हंसी,
But
इतना
sir,
में
it's
कभी
already
नहीं हंसी।
1:20. We have crossed 1:20, and Suneel sir would like to
Yeah,
leave.
yeah. So thank you
Yes.
so much for the opportunity, and it was a pleasure. And I never get called. I always get called twice, Dr. Neeta.
बचपन से
first-
स्कूल की आदत है.
The first and the last time. So I hope it's a 2-in-1. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Sunil. Thank you. Really, we enjoyed this last 42 minutes together, and I will see to it that you come back on this program, and that will not be the last time. I assure you
Okay.
that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wishes from the Bloom family. I wish you a very and your family a happy Deepavali and a safe
Same.
Deepavali.
Same,
Thank you.
same to you.
Thank you.
Let there be light in your life.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for
Okay.
everybody who is there, Sunil is leaving us, but we are live for another 10 minutes. Anybody wants to discuss anything, say, talk, give examples, share, we are open. It's not that we are closing. We have another 10 minutes.
Okay, so I want to say one or two things. See, this was a very, very powerful lesson, very powerful session. And I think we all understood that there is a way of doing it, and we all wish I could do it like this.
Yes.
But it doesn't happen like what he said. It's not a textbook knowledge.
Yeah.
And I agree with him that you can't create a habit, you have to develop a habit.
Yes.
So I think we can all practice this and help each other.
Yeah.
You know, when somebody comes and say, you could have said this, or, oh, that was nice, and things like that. So
Yeah.
I think in our own little community, we can start looking at how we can help each other nurture this
Yes.
skill.
Yes.
I was remembering this chap, I may even name him later, but he was talking on a TEDx talk to an IIM student community.
Yeah.
So he was checking his mic. He says, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So there was no response. They didn't respond. They didn't say good morning and all. He said, oh, I was just checking. Is there something wrong with the mic or the manners? Okay, so now
Yeah.
I found it very, very nice, subtle humor. But
Yeah.
also to start your lecture, it also looked arrogant. It also, it gave I was not very happy with that. Joke to acha tha, lekin mere ko laga ki wo right at the beginning, you have put your audience
Down.
So I think we have to be mindful, particularly when we are on the stage.
Yes.
We have to respect our audience.
Yes.
And we have to sort of cheer them up all the time. You can't tell them that you are fools, that you don't have manners.
Yeah. So many of us may have seen this TED Talk. It's one of the most watched TED Talks on TED on YouTube. It is by Sir Ken Robinson. Have schools, lost the humor, something like that. That name is there. It has been watched multiple number of times. Most of us have seen it. For whoever is watching this live on Facebook or watching it later on YouTube, and if you haven't watched it, go and search for it. It is all about humor and how he's put humor through, in every second sentence, you can actually listen to him and what he is saying, and the audience bursts into laughter. So TED Talk by Sir Ken Robinson. He passed away
By
a few
who?
months.
By
Ken
Sir,
Robinson.
Ken Robinson.
kindly
Sir,
type it in the chat box so that it's visible.
it is Have Schools Lost the Relevance or something like that? It is by Sir Ken Robinson.
Robinson.
No, you put the name of the person,
I'll-
then it's easy to, oh, he's
I'll
got
put
it.
it.
Somebody's
Yeah,
got it.
yeah,
Lokesh.
So yeah, Ken Robinson, they've shared the link. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lokesh. Thank you, Lokesh. Thank you, Lokesh, for
Lokesh.
joining in. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Lokesh, that is efficiency.
Yeah.
Technical efficiency, not financial efficiency.
It's really good talk. I mean, if you want to understand how to intersperse humor into a talk, without actually sounding humorous or making it sound like it's a joke, it's a wonderful talk to listen to. Anybody
Lokesh,
wants to
next
share
time with
anything?
next time with the link, there should be a 500 rupee note. Then it become financial efficiency.
I would just like to say, since we have doctors over here on this session today,
Yes.
yesterday night I just watched the movie Dr. G,
Dr.
and
G.
it's a must-watch movie. After
It's
a
a
long,
must. It's a very
very
nice
good
movie.
movie.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
conveying the best of the message in a very nice way, but with
Yes.
lots of humor in the beginning. The first half is
Yes.
having lots of humor,
Thank you.
but later on, a serious topic has been conveyed with a good message.
Wonderful.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
Amitji.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Amit, for sharing that. Yeah.
So what Brigadier Bhasin has just said, no, that we should practice amongst ourselves. So I'm going to just practice with you right now something.
Yeah.
So when I get angry with my husband, normally I used to, keep quiet. And then I used to be silent for, let's say, 15 days. And then, yeah, let us say, I mean, I'm just giving a vague this thing. It was long back, no? Abhi to 40 saal ho gaye, to purani baat hai. So after 15 days, my friend asked me, what happened? I told her that I'm not talking to my husband for 15 days. So she said, why? What happened? What was the reason? So I couldn't even remember. So the point is, then I stopped fighting with him. I stopped becoming quiet and all that. So recently I got a कीड़ा. I said, नहीं बहुत दिन हो गए, लड़ाई नहीं हुई, कुछ झगड़ा नहीं हुआ, कुछ आर्ग्यूमेंट नहीं हुआ, मजा नहीं आ रहा. So we had to go for a Hinduja party on the day before yesterday night. So he had spoken something to me which I didn't like. So I became little arrogant. I said, चलो मैं नहीं आ रही पार्टी में आपके साथ में. So this was, we had to leave at 7:30. So at 7 o'clock, I told him this. So I thought now after half an hour, he will come and call me. After 8 o'clock, he will come and call me. He kept sitting and watching some movie on the laptop and all that. So at 8 o'clock, I got scared. I said, Abhi, ko to koi farak hi nahi padta hai. So then I went back to him. I said, are we going or are we not going? So he said, you said you're not going to come, na? I'm not going to go alone. I said, okay, I'm coming. So then my son came and told, Mama, what happened? How come you all are going? You said you're not going, na? I said, रूठना बंद कर दिया था मैंने, अभी भी नहीं रूठूंगी मैं, क्योंकि मनाने वाला कोई नहीं है. Because even if I keep quiet, it doesn't bother. So I've understood one thing, one characteristic about my husband. तुमको नहीं जाना ना, ठीक है नहीं जाते. It doesn't bother him. Some people are so calm and so they don't need any validation. They don't need anything. So this was like a practicing of my joke कि भाई मैं रूठना बंद कर दिया है. I don't know if it falls on proper ears or not, or it fell flat. Just tell me that.
या डॉक्टर अलका गर्गर की कहानी है, मुझे लग रहा मेरी वाइफ स्टोरी बता रही थी.
All husbands are deaf, selectively and contextually deaf.
I only wish my wife's husband was also like that.
तो आप क्या करते सर इस सिचुएशन में? आप क्या करते? आप
वही तो ह्यूमर है.
नहीं आप बोल रहे ना ऐसे होते तो नहीं है आप ना वैसे.
मैं तो बहुत हाउल करता हूँ, कोशिश करता हूँ कि why the hell and all this, and if she still doesn't say anything, I said then I am going, because मैं तो अपनी पार्टी मिस नहीं करने वाला. तेरे को नहीं जाना तो मत जा. I am not like your husband to say कि तू नहीं जा रही तो मैं भी नहीं जाऊंगा. Your choice. The other day she was telling me, if you keep behaving like this, I'm not going to come to Maldives. I said, take your decision. My behavior is not changing. I'm quite happy going alone. मेरे को कोई फर्क
नहीं. हमने तो रूठना ही बंद कर दिया अभी. कोई मनाने वाला ही नहीं है तो क्या करें फिर?
Yeah. All I can say, the 13 has been a real lucky number for us, Payal. 113th episode, comedy, humor, communication, so much understanding. This has been a masterclass on how to learn humor if you don't have it. If you have it, you keep on continue using it. How to refine it, how to target it to your audience, where to use, what to not use, how to say, and the other thing, how to prime your audience. If there is something which you are going to be saying later on, prepare them so that they get it. Otherwise, there is no point in saying it.
So I think, one thing which is very important, which Deepak just said is that, and what Suneel also said very clearly, let's not put the horse before the cart, which means मेरे को एक ये joke आता है ना, मैं देखूं कहाँ fit हो रहा है. Like songs in an Indian movie, पहले गाना लिखा जाता है, फिर देखते कहाँ इसको fit करें. So then the humor doesn't look good. But if it comes subtly, and if it comes, if it comes to reinforce something, and that happens with me quite a lot of time, when people say, how do you remember jokes? I don't remember jokes, but there is something that triggered off, which reminds you of something which is relevant.
Yes.
Now, if that works, I think it's very good. Otherwise, of course, I normally don't do it. Don't force a humor in when it's not required.
Correct.
That is for sure. Because on the stage, it can be more harmful than beneficial.
So 1:32 on a Sunday afternoon, my
so
family is.
So you change, Deepak, you have to change this.
I have to change this. चलो अभी लंच नहीं खाएंगे. आज फास्टिंग करते हैं.
नहीं हम लोग सब लंच के लिए अलका के घर जा रहे हैं.
आ जाओ. I'm welcoming you. मैं तो कल भी हमारी कोर मीटिंग हुई थी, मैं उनको कह रही थी सब लोग आओ दिवाली.
All of you can come for lunch. All of you are welcome to come for lunch to my house. Lunch is available till 2:30.
Like,
नहीं, मेरे घर में सच में
we
था।
will all need to sign off because we again have a 5:30 program again
Yes.
back with a very amazing, because as we had humor, we again having theater, how theater and how those props can be used in the way when people are dealing with mental health, or even the HRs when they have to come up with some policies.
Yes.
So see you all
What
at
program is
5:30
this?
Today evening. Today evening.
sir, 5:30.
I will share the link and the creative in all the groups again. We are having another discussion today evening at 5:30. Really interesting one. Do join in if you have the time. Do log in.
तो link
5:30 to
भेजना।
6:30, theater and mental health together.
Theater and mental health. Yes.
I am in a coaching class, so I'll not be able to come.
तो
No
भेज
problem.
देना,
We'll
जरा
just share it
हमको
if it's-
पर्सनल में भी भेज देना। थैंक यू।